So welcome to today's session, guys. We're going to go over the basic for the cars section, which I know a lot of people sometimes struggle with. But the good thing about this is that you can practice and get better at it. So that's what we're going to try to learn and accomplish today. So yeah, this is the first cars topic session. So welcome, everyone. And I guess I just want to go over why we started MCAT 101. And so a lot of us were struggling during the MCAT process, and I know you guys probably have lots of questions on what to do, what resources to study from, where to get help. So that's kind of why we're here. We're here to answer any questions you guys might have and help you out by providing these free sessions so everyone can learn and learn together. So if you have any questions at any point, you can always email us at mcat101questions@gmail.com. And if you want to be on the newsletter or listserv so you can get weekly updates about the next topic session and sign up, make sure you just drop your email. Sorry, what was that? Okay. Just make sure you just drop your email in the chat so we can get your email down and send you those information. And like I was saying, so cars is very different from the rest of the sections. And that is because that's the only section you can go in and technically still get a perfect score without having any previous knowledge of the material. And that is really cool because you just need to basically practice a lot on your own. So with these strategies, hopefully you can come closer to your goal. So in the chat, feel free to type, what are your top cars concerns? Is it timing? Is it focus? Is it reading comprehension of the passage? Do you get lost sometimes? Or even boredom? So let's see which ones are the top. Reading comprehension, okay. Yes, the philosophy passages. Focusing, okay. Comprehension, okay. So we're seeing a lot of those, yeah. So we're gonna go over how to get better at these things, especially since these are the top priorities for cars, what you really want to focus in on. So the first step is taking a diagnostic test for this section. So if you haven't taken a full length already, that would be key. So you can just see where you are at this section and go from there. So just based on your score, if your score is less than 125 in this section, that really means you need to focus on your reading comprehension and understanding of the passage. Tia, sorry, am I not recording this? I thought I started the recording. Yeah, I am recording this session and you will get it after. Let me go back. I will send the recording, no worries, yep. So if you are less than 125, you really need to focus on your reading comprehension, and that honestly just comes from practicing and reading the passages. So you kind of really want to practice using third-party material such as Jack Weston cars or any other passages you might get, like Kaplan, Princeton Review, or any other passages that are third-party cars passages. Those are great to just focus in on reading comprehension. Lisa, what do you mean about that? Usually they are they're not based on any scientific. Usually they're more on philosophy, historical passages, and they say, yeah, literature, mostly literature. If you're mostly in the 125 to 127 section, you are at an okay place. So you can start to do the Khan Academy passages. These passages were designed with the AAMC, so they do have some They are better than third-party CARS passages, so I definitely do recommend trying those out. The questions are not always the best though, and the formatting, just because CARS passages are usually around 6 to 8 questions, and the Khan Academy passages, as you'll see later when we practice, are sometimes even 3 questions or 4 questions, which is not always ideal. But the passages are actually great just to build up that reading comprehension. And then once you get at a point where you've done a lot of CARS passages for practice, you can, in your final month, move on to AAMC passages to definitely build on that, because that's the best resources we have right now to see where you're at for the real exam. Do you guys have any questions on this slide? Does this make sense? Let me know in the chat. And Linda, yes, so you can take a diagnostic at, usually a lot of companies either offer like a full length or like a half length practice exam for free. So we're actually going to send those out. So look out for our next newsletter, which will have around 15 pages of free MCAT resources that you can see, especially with all the full length material. So look out for that email that you guys will get soon. Okay. Yeah, that's a great question. So any advice on studying for CARS while working full-time and taking courses? Yeah, this is hard, as I know we're all in school right now. But one thing I would definitely mention is for CARS is just do at least one passage a day, rain or shine. So you kind of build that momentum up, especially if you have a couple of months before your exam. So if you're doing at least one passage and then building up to, 2 to 3 passages a day, that will work great for you in the long run. So Jack Weston actually has a new passage every day, and you can work on that for your comprehension and just understanding and having lots of resources, especially since it's free for practicing for CARS. Okay, so quick question. Would you get 100 on a passage if time was not an issue? Let me know in that poll. Okay, did everyone vote?
Yes.
Okay, great, cool. Yeah, so the majority of you actually said yes. So I'm glad you feel confident that like time is the issue then, the pressure of time. Yeah, a lot of times people really get frustrated with the time, and that honestly just comes from practicing and having the confidence of reading really fast, but not sacrificing comprehension. So the key to improving is pacing yourself rather than timing. If you see that time is an issue for you and it continues to be an issue, what you could try doing is just skipping one of the passages at the end, just so that you have more time for the other passages. And if you only skip one passage, but you still have those other passages done pretty confidently, you might even end up getting a better score if you actually rush through all of your passages. Does that make sense? I know it's kind of crazy just to think about not doing a whole passage, but it might actually even be better for those folks that actually really struggle with timing. So you don't want to, you really want to do accuracy first before moving on to your timing. So you want to spend your time getting all the answers correct first, and that's what you can do by doing the easiest passages and what you feel confident with the passages first. So definitely skip the questions that you feel yourself struggling with and taking forever on, because every question is worth the same amount of points. So you don't get more points for getting a hard question right, you know? So you're better off doing an easier passage and getting those questions correct. So we're going to talk about your strategies and working on improving those applications. Do we have any questions here? Yeah, and another great free resources is Jack Weston. Yep, he has great passages, and sometimes they're okay, sometimes they're not, but it's still free and a lot of practice for cars if that's what you need. So self-evaluation. So why is this important? So after you do a cars passage, you really want to go back and understand what was right and what was wrong. So why did you miss that question? And do you really want to even read the passage again and find where the answer could have been? Because unlike the other sections, the answer has to be in the cars passage itself. So once you're done with the timing and the passage, you can go back and analyze where you missed your mistakes. So what did you do correctly and what went wrong? What led you to the wrong answer? Was there something in the passage that you misinterpreted, or were you down to two choices and you chose the wrong one? So this is really the key to understanding how you think versus how the test writers are thinking. So with this in mind, you really want to think about what you would do differently if you were to do that passage again. And make sure you write this down. So right now I'll show you a spreadsheet of cars and what you should be doing. Okay, so this is an example. So when you take a practice passage for cars, you want to write down where you saw it, what the question was, what the answer was, and what type of question, because you'll see a pattern, you know. Are you always missing tone questions? Are you missing the purpose question? What type of questions are you missing? And your thought process. What did you do wrong? What could you have done correctly? So this is really going to help you understand your car's scores. And then think of a strategy. What would you do next time? Would you slow down a little bit? Would you read all the answers again? Would you skip this passage? What would you do next time if you had the option? So I can also send this out in an email so you guys have this template if you want to make a copy of it and start using it for yourself. Do we have any questions here? Okay, great. So we'll keep going then. So next is how to fight boredom. So this is a huge problem. How many times have you guys just like zoned out in a passage? Tell me that, please. It is so hard sometimes, especially if it's like a really boring passage on a boring topic that we don't care about, just sitting there and reading it, and sometimes it's really hard, yes. Okay, great, yeah, so around 40% said always, and 60% said sometimes. So yeah, most of us are in that boat where we definitely just zone out in the passage. So how can we improve that? Because we really don't want to zone out, right? So one thing is to read actively. So how can we do that? What are some tricks to read actively versus passively? What do you guys do? You can type it in the chat if you do anything. Pretend that the passage is interesting. Take medication. Yep. Rephrase what the author says. That's a great one. Ask myself what it means. Yep, yep. Yeah, those are great ideas, guys. So this has just worked for me. So I pretend that this author is actually my best friend, and my best friend wrote this amazing article, and I just have to read it for 10 minutes. Okay, that's all I have, 10 minutes, and I'm going to love this article, because my best friend wrote it. So, yeah, I just try to respect the author and then think that this is their greatest writing being presented to me, and I only have 10 minutes to read it. And that usually works. I kind of fake it till I make it. So just pretend that like you really want to read this and get in the zone. If that doesn't work, you can focus on keywords in the paragraphs so you don't have to so kind of break it down into chunks. Also, what a lot of things, especially with cars, you just read passage after passage and it gets really tiring. Just do a mental reset after each passage. Just take a couple deep breaths, reset, and that will just make it go a lot smoother. Okay, so another thing is to understand the test writers. So another thing is that we're tested on is tone, and tone is very important, and it kind of is explaining why the author wrote what they did. And look for extreme words in the passages. What are some examples of extreme words that you have seen? And not saying that extreme answer choices are always incorrect. Sometimes authors do have an extreme opinion on the topic. But if you see that the author is indifferent or super casual about the topic, they're not going to like hate, the answer choices aren't going to be like that extreme. So what are some extreme examples that you might have seen in an answer choice? You can write it in the chat. Hate. Yep. Always. Always or never. Those are good ones. Yep. We don't want to assume anything like that in a passage unless it says so specifically. Those are great examples. Yep. Okay. And then attractors. What are some attractors you have seen in an answer choice? What made an answer choice look so good that you almost wanted to pick it, but you saw something that was wrong in it? Just maybe like one word that threw you off. Vague. Yep. When it's vague enough to be correct. Repeating or restating a word from the passage. At least. Yeah, these are great ones. So a lot of times they write really nice wrong answers that you want to pick them and you can't tell if this is wrong or right. And that's where we kind of want to start thinking of cars like a game, like what are the test writers trying to trick me into picking? So some examples are reversals. So that is when they write the answer choice but reverse it from something that was mentioned in the passage. So it could have been right, but there's one word that like messed it up. And we just talked about this, extreme words. So if the author was okay about the topic, but then the answer choice is like never or always. So that is something super extreme. And we definitely want to eliminate those answer choices right off the bat, especially if you know in the passage the author did not mention that. And half right. Half right answer choices are when half of the answer choice is right, half of it is wrong. So those can be really tricky too if you're not reading carefully. And out of scope. Do you guys understand what means by out of scope? Does someone want to elaborate on that? Because this is something that many people do a lot. So this is when we take our outside knowledge from a passage. Maybe we know a lot about this topic actually, maybe it's about your favorite sport and you start applying your outside knowledge about this sport, but it wasn't written in the passage. But the answer choice will have answers that were out of scope. Let me know if that makes sense. Makes sense? Great. Perfect. Yep. Okay, so now, if this makes sense, I'm letting you guys know where we can find some practice materials to work on this. So as I said, if you guys are starting out lesson 125, you really need to work on reading comprehension, and that is actually something that is going to take time, and you need to have that schedules to make in that you're getting at least one CARS passage in a day. So I would start with Jack Weston because obviously he has free materials, and then move on to Khan Academy for your reading comprehension skills and building your strategy. And then definitely save the double AMC materials for the end. And then do those in a realistic setting, just because you want to make sure you get better at your timing, your pacing, and applying your strategy before moving on to the double AMC passages. Okay, so what are some strategies that you guys use? Everyone might have a different strategy and it might not always work for you. So, a lot of test prep companies say do this, do that, but if it doesn't work for you, honestly, do whatever you do. Sometimes people just read it and answer the questions, and that works best for them. So you need to figure out what works best for you, but we will go over some strategies that a lot of people use and it works for them. So let me know what strategies you guys already use. And if you don't use any, that is totally okay. We will go through some. So drop it in the chat. Okay, skimming the questions to know what you're looking for. Look for keywords. Read the passage. Okay. Skim. Okay. Paraphrase the passage. Yeah, great. Yeah, these are great answers. Okay, so let us go over strategy. So the next few strategies that we're going to talk about, these have worked for many students, but you can try them. If they don't work for you, don't use them. You don't have to use them. It's totally okay. Just figure out what works for you and apply that strategy. So first, decide if the passage is doable. Sometimes there's topics that we just don't like, and that happens, or the passage looks too difficult for you and you are not able to understand it at all. If you read the first few sentences of the passage and it makes no sense to you, even after you paraphrase it. So my trick here is if you can explain it to like your 5-year-old cousin, that's a passage that is doable, that you want to do right away. But if you can't explain it to your 5-year-old cousin, then maybe you want to come back to it at the end when you have time. So you get to decide which order you want to do the passages in. So if you want to skip it, you can totally skip it and come back to it. And just make sure you mark it for review and don't forget, because sometimes people forget and that would not be good. So the first one is to preview or skim the questions. So why do we do this? This can help students to stay focused and be efficient. By skimming the questions, you can understand what the passage is going to talk about before you even read it, So you can see the questions. That's where you're getting the points. You want to see that. Are you going to be able to ask for the author's tone? Are they asking you for the purpose? Did they mention something specific that you should look out for in the passage? So by previewing the questions, you kind of understand what questions are going to be mentioned, where the questions will be in the passage, what to look out for, and definitely look out for any specific things that are mentioned in a question. Maybe they mention a place or a person. So that way, you know, when you go to the passage, you read actively and you can highlight those important features that came up in the questions. Does that make sense? Yep.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Great. Moving on. The next part is to read actively. So reading actively is really difficult and is something you have to practice a lot. So when you practice, make sure you do it realistically. Don't be zoning out, which I know is really hard, but just, you know, pretend like the author is your best friend. And highlight those keywords and specifics that you might have seen in the questions. And then after you read each paragraph, not the passage, after you read each paragraph, think about the main point. Why did this author include this paragraph in this passage? Why is it important? What is he trying to say in this paragraph? And then think about the tone, the purpose, the logic of that paragraph. Like, is the author supporting it in this paragraph? Is he criticizing something? Those are things that you really want to look out for in the passage. And the next step is to have a bottom line. So after you read each paragraph, write a 1 to 2 word summary. So what was this paragraph about? Was it about like an author's important birthplace? What was it about? Just so you know, when you come back to answer the questions, you don't have to reread the whole passage because that takes a lot of time. You don't want to spend all your time reading the passage again and again, you know, finding something in there that you saw but don't remember. So by just writing 1 or 2 words down, you can remember which paragraph you need to go back to, and then just read that paragraph. You don't need to read the whole passage, okay? Because that will save you a lot of time. I know in the beginning, it takes a lot of time to just write down something and you don't want to do that, but at the end, it actually saves a lot of time just by having a summary after each paragraph, so you know where, if you have a question on it, you know where to go back to. And here you can also write, was the author supporting the paragraph? Was he criticizing it? That's really important. And then you can go to the questions. So then after we read the passage, we obviously go to the questions and skip the harder ones until you develop a better idea of the passage by answering the easier questions. So sometimes you can use the questions to help you kind of get into the zone and answer the hard questions at the end. And another great tip is to answer the question before you look at the answers. I know that's kind of tricky, but so if the question asks you, you kind of want to think about it in your head before you see the actual answer choices, because the test writers will try to trick you. And sometimes if you don't form that answer in your head, you will be easily tricked and pick an answer choice that is very, I can't find the word, but very attractive. Yes, and it's a tractor and you pick it, but sometimes in the pressure of time and it is actually wrong. So you really want to be careful in those areas. So let's practice together, okay? So why don't you guys head to jackwestoncars.com and you can click on practice and click Khan Academy Cars, and we're going to do the passage, The Honest Truth About Dishonesty. And I'll give you guys around 8 minutes to do that passage. So try to apply these strategies. Let me know if anyone did not find this passage. So let me know when you guys are ready and I'll start the timer. Let me know in the chat. If you need help, I can show you where it is. You go to Jack Weston Cars. Practice, I think is Khan Academy passages. And it should be right here, the honest truth about dishonesty. And then I'll give you guys around 8 minutes to do it. Okay, please let me know once you find it, and then I'll start the timer. Okay, perfect. Okay, you guys can start now. Once you guys are done, you can let me know in the chat, and if you need more time, we can do that too. So don't worry too much about the timing, just let me know once you're done in the chat. Does anyone need more time? If not, we'll start going over it. We'll go over the answers, don't worry. Okay. Okay, so let me know, what did you guys say? For question 4, what was your answer? Okay. What about question 3? Okay. And 2 more, question 2. And question 1. Okay, cool. We'll go over this now. Can you guys still see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, perfect, great. Okay, so first I would start off with reading the questions. Is that what you guys did as well? Previewing the questions? Okay,
Yes.
great. So which of the following assumptions is most central to the author's argument? Okay, great. So it's kind of like a main purpose argument question, so that's important. We'll keep that in mind. And we just read the question, not the answers, okay? Just read the question. The author implies which of the following about businessmen and business people and politicians? Okay, cool. So we're going to be asked about business people and politicians from the passage. Okay, suppose a politician is reelected despite lying about his voting record. The passage suggests which of the following explanations? Okay, great. So reelected despite lying. Okay. And the author most likely mentions probability in his discussion of voting behavior as a reasoning for which of the following? Great. Okay, probability in discussing voting behavior. Okay, so now we would go back and read the passage. So this is like an average CARS passage. As you can see, there's lots of paragraphs, and that's something we have to get used to reading, honestly. So the first paragraph, let me know what you guys thought was important. What did you highlight here in the first paragraph? What were the key words here? So let me know in the chat. The last sentence. Was it the whole last sentence or some words in there? The first word, although, okay. Dishonesty, unbiased, okay. Although business people. Okay, a common complaint is that they take advantage through dishonest advertising. Great. Okay. Anything else? What was the bottom line in this paragraph? What do you think was the most important thing that the author was trying to say? Ads are dishonest. Great. Yeah, so in that, I would most likely write paragraph 1, dishonest ads. Okay, that's what paragraph 1 is about. And okay, we'll highlight the last sentence then. Advertisements are designed to convince consumers to favor one product over another, and presenting solely unbiased and unemotional information would seldom be the way to accomplish this goal. So that's kind of trying to tell us that, right, dishonest ads. Okay. What about the next paragraph? What was the key here? So now we kind of get into politicians and business people. Both groups will deviate, okay? The important biased and emotional ways. Misled, okay. The important question is, okay? So the author is asking some question. Great, okay. What is the bottom line here? Okay. What would you guys say the bottom line is for the second paragraph? Okay, great. So both groups mislead. Okay, 2 to 3 words. We want to keep it really simple. Okay, next paragraph. What are some keywords that you thought were important? So whenever you see like a first, you definitely want to know the author is going to make points here. So that's a point that is coming up. First, business people are attempting to persuade people. Attempting to persuade, yep. Do we have anything else that you guys would highlight? Post-decision experience, okay. In the light of post. Yeah, okay, great. What would you say that the bottom line of this paragraph was? Post-decision experience, cost and benefits, okay. Was that to highlight or the bottom line? What is a 1 to 2 word summary of this paragraph? Okay, highlight, okay. Yeah, what is the key here? What is the author trying to say? Attract money spenders. Okay. Great, okay. moving on. Okay, the second reason. So we have another reason why misleading claims are less effective. What else did you guys highlight in this paragraph? There's no wrong answers. Okay, increasingly small. Okay, what about this? Given such low probability, yep. Voters have little motivation. So I'm highlighting this because remember there was a question about it. Voters have little motivation. Okay, great, moving on. What would we say like the, what would we say the summary is here? Paragraph 4. Voters aren't concerned. Okay, yeah, we're talking about voters. What, anything else? So I would say like voters is talking about voters here. Okay, good idea. Okay, what about the next paragraph? We're talking about now professors. So professors would be more honest. One might think that. So when the author says that, we want to kind of immediately think, oh, one might think that, but it's not actually true. And then the author follows up with however. What was the bottom line here? What was the main point in this paragraph? So he's saying that you would think that professors would be more honest, but they try to sell their products to customers and they don't have, yeah, they don't get directly affected. So now we're talking about professors also being misleading. Professors misleading. Okay, great. Last paragraph. Anything important here that we should highlight? Professors care more about reputation. Yep. Professors have to be more restrained, yep, when publishing, restrained when publishing than when teaching. Okay. And however, that's a good word. Maybe. Okay. What do you think the bottom line was here? What is important about this paragraph? The last paragraph. So why did he mention professors now? And professors need to be considerate. Okay. What else? He's kind of comparing that and why professors just, yeah, professors just want to publish, right? Okay, and then I'm just going to write paragraph 6 is about professors publishing. Great, so now we're done with that and we can move on. And I usually stay at the last question so I don't waste time. So why did the author mention probability in his discussion of voting behavior? So was he explaining voter turnout in any elections in this passage at all? What do you guys think? No. Okay, so we can cross that out. We can cross that out. And we can cross any answer choice that has that. Okay, and then what do you think? Was it to explain the prevalence of politicians' dishonesty or to explain why voters do not carefully consider political claims? Yeah, so it was to explain why the voters don't consider the claim. Right, it was not, if we go back to voting, he was not talking about paragraph, where did we talk about voters? Paragraph 4. So he was not talking about the politician's dishonesty. He was saying, given such a low probability, voters have little motivation to be concerned about the accuracy. So if they don't, if they're not motivated, they're not going to consider the political claims. Does that make sense? Perfect. Great. Moving on. Suppose a politician is reelected despite lying about his voting record. What does that suggest of the following explanations? Okay. What do you guys think for this answer? Were there any clear answers that we could eliminate right out of the way? Did he talk about voter demographics were different from this campaign or election? Eliminate B, okay. Oh, oops, we accidentally chose something. Draw. Yep, eliminate B. What else? So despite lying, he was reelected. What does that say? So if he made contradictory statements during his campaign, can we say that was why he was reelected? So yeah, eliminating A. Great, okay. And we're now down to two choices. So which one seems a little better? So voters did not compare the behavior while in office versus there was no consensus regarding the cost and benefits of a second term. Which one did we discuss in the passage? Right, so C is better because it says voters were little motivation to be concerned, about the accuracy of political claims being made. So if they don't have motivation, they would not compare the politician's behavior. Does that make sense? Okay, great, moving on. Next question. Sorry, I'm going a bit fast, we're running over time. The author implies which of the following about business people and politicians? What do you guys think we can eliminate here? A, okay. A and C, okay, both have biased views about their customers and constituents respectively, okay. Both are concerned about advertising themselves. Did we talk about advertising themselves? Not specifically in the passage, yep, that can go. Okay, so which one was a better answer choice between B and C? Which one did we talk more in the passage about? B, okay. Does that make sense? So the passage was mostly about being dishonest, right? So stick to our bottom line. Okay. Last question. Which of the following is most central to the author's argument? Do we talk about products that are designed to appeal to emotional customers? Was that the central argument? Eliminate A, okay. Yep. Products are more likely to be purchased when they're advertised than when they are not. Was this passage about advertising and purchasing products mostly? No, okay. If businesses manufactured only products, there would be few products on the market. What do you guys think about that? Nope, okay. That leaves us with this answer choice. Does that make sense, guys? So sorry that we kind of rushed through it, but let me know if you have any questions about this passage. I just want to make a few more points that, oh gosh, sorry about all these drawing marks, but please ignore that. We're going to send out a post survey and please fill that out. Just let me know what I can do better. And yes, one was D. And we have a GoFundMe because these sessions are free. We really need to cover our cost of the website and advertising. Please consider donating and helping us fund these sessions. So I'll drop that link in there. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to email me. And spread this word around. And yeah, feel free to email me if you guys have any questions, and I can send out the recording afterwards. Okay? Yeah, no worries.
Thank you.
Yeah. Have a great night, everyone.